Welcome to my lecture on the skewer. Let me just start out by showing you an example of the skewer. So let's say it's white's turn to move in this position. White can employ the tactical theme of the skewer by moving its bishop to g2. What it's doing here is that, before I explain it in detail, is that if you look at it, well, the bishop is attacking the queen, but the problem is when the queen moves, then white will be able to capture the rook. So white moves its bishop, let's say queen, the queen just moves, and now we get the bishop. We just captured a rook, and the queen recaptures the bishop. We know that the rook is more valuable than the bishop, so white just won material. So that's the skewer. So let me just back up and go over a little bit more in detail. So what is a skewer? Well, a skewer is an attack on two pieces on the same line. So what was the line that we were talking about? Well, this is the line. Okay, so notice how all the pieces are on the same line, the same diagonal as the bishop. If the queen was skewering, it would be whatever the line was. If it was a rook skewering, it would be whatever that line was. But in this case, it's this line right here. It says, the more valuable piece receives the initial attack. The opponent moves the more valuable piece, exposing an attack on a second piece. So that's what we have here. The bishop is attacking the queen, which is more valuable than the rook. The queen moves, and we have an attack on the less valuable piece, meaning reference to the queen. Okay, and I noted that the skewer is just the reverse cousin of the pin. If you think about a pin, or if we had a pin, the sort of the queen and maybe rook would be reversed. Okay, but so if you sort of the reverse cousin, so they're sort of the reverse cousin of each other. And let me just go over that there's three pieces that are used in the skewer. The first one is the attacking piece, and in this case it was our bishop. And actually the attacking piece must be what we call a line piece. That means a bishop, a rook, or a queen. And the bishop is very common. Or in most cases, not always, but it's a very common piece to be the attacking piece in a skewer. The attack piece is of greater value than the skewered piece, and it's usually a king, a queen, or a rook. Not always, but these are probably the most common attacked pieces, the attack piece in a skewer. And then the skewer piece is just of course it's of lesser value than the attack piece, but it's usually, not always, usually of greater value than the attacking piece. And that's what makes it effective. Because if you think about it in our example, if this rook was a bishop, then effectively we'd be just trading off the bishops, and that may or not be a good or may not be good idea in this situation. But what makes it much more powerful is that this bishop is of lesser value than this rook. So let's go over a few examples of the skewer. Okay, I set up this position. In this position, it's actually black's turn to move because black is actually in check. Okay, so, and just to sort of review, when you're in check, basically there's only three ways to get out of check. Remember, it's run, block, or capture. Let me just cover the capture, meaning capturing the attacking piece. Well, obviously black cannot capture the queen, so that's not an option. Blocking, well, there's only two pieces I could block for black. The queen can move to here, or the bishop can move to here. That's not, either one of those is not a good idea, because the queen would just come and capture either one of these pieces. So if the queen moved there, it would capture the queen, and if the bishop moved, then the queen would just come and capture with check. So what about running? Well, the king cannot run, or if you've noticed, the rook is over here attacking, so the king is not allowed to run to any one of these squares, and it can't run to this square because the queen's attacking it. And it really can't move to this square because this bishop over here is sort of attacking, or can capture along these squares. So really, black is only left with two options: to move here or to move here. Probably the best option would have been, or the best option is actually for the king to move to here. But let's say the king decides to move to this position. Well, now actually white can employ the tactical idea of the skewer by moving to here. And this, let's just cover, this is an example of the skewer. So once again, we have the bishop delivering the skewer. Here's the line. I've drawn the line, so it's attack of two pieces along the same line. Okay, and the more valuable piece, so the two pieces involve the king, the rook, and obviously the king is the most valuable piece. Actually, when we discuss value of pieces, the king has no value because once you capture the king, the game's over. So a lot of people will use an infinity, or some people will use 200. I mean, just the king is so much more valuable than any piece. And it's also compelled to move in this position. So once the rook captures it, we have to rather capture the bishop, which we can't. We have to block, which we can't, or we have to run. So the king would have to run now with this check. But getting back to the skewer, now when this piece moves, the king moves, it's opened. It's now we're going to be able to capture the rook. Okay, so the king will move, exposing an attack to on the piece behind the king. So once again, we have the attacking piece, the bishop, the attack piece, the king, and the skewered piece, the rook. Let's look at another example. Okay, I set up this position, and in this position it's white's turn to move, and actually white can win this knight and rook only for this rook here. And how's it going to do that? Well, it's actually going to use the tactic of the skewer. And how is white going to accomplish this? Well, first, white is actually going to capture this knight, and this probably doesn't seem like a good idea because you're saying, hold on, now we know that the queen can just recapture the rook, and you're saying white just gave up a rook for a knight. We know the rook is more valuable than the knight, so actually it looks like white is losing material, and you just told me white's going to win material. Well, that's because on the next move, white is going to be able to use the tactic of the skewer. So white just captured the knight, black recaptures the rook, and if you don't know, actually black has a mating threat over here, but it's okay, black won't have time to do that. The skewer actually comes by moving the rook to here, and I just want to point out the elements of the skewer. Now if we look at it, here's the line. I always say, it's attack. A skewer is attack of two pieces along the same line, so here's the line. Okay, the queen is being attacked, but also indirectly the rook is being attacked. So we have the attacking piece, the rook, the attack piece, the queen, and the skewered piece, the rook. And notice the queen actually can't get back to defend the rook. To defend the rook, the queen, this is also one of the reasons I put the pawns where they needed to be. The queen would have to move to somewhere like this square or that square where it could sort of cover the rook, but it can't get to those squares, and if it moves directly back, it'll just be captured by the rook. So in this case, the queen will be forced to move, let's say, you know, they're there, and then the rook will come down and capture with check. And like I said, we were actually white gained a rook and a knight for a rook. So actually it was able to win a full knight. It actually